Hello everyone, this is the Nameless one. Today we are going over the episode 13 highlights for Peacemakers of Equestria. Before we do though, I would like to say that if you enjoy what we are doing and would like to support the channel, then check out my reward tiers on patreon.com/thenamelessone. Link in the description. And thank you to those who already have. Without further ado, let's begin. The first clip is of the party bearing witness to the destruction of Manehattan at the hooves of Tenebrous. Roll clip. You guys, in the midst of your dreaming, it feels like you wake up in a open field. You can recognize that it is the world as it is currently because of the dark sun that is currently up in the sky at the same time as the moon. And in front of you, out a little distance away, you see the city of Manehattan. Around the city, made entirely of magical energy this time, are 3 magical circles that are slowly rotating in different directions. And around the circles are quite a few casters of what you can assume were once the cult. They've become twisted aberrations of what they once were. And standing not far from them, you can see Tenebrous. He turns to you and says, "This is what happened to all who oppose me," before turning back and beginning a chant in a language that you guys are unfamiliar with. And everything he's saying comes with this, it sounds like a very violent language, for lack of any other description. Every word seems to carry malice and hatred. And as he continues to chant, you see in the distance, the people are gathered along the inner edge of the innermost circle, attempting to escape, which is very obviously futile. And as he comes, his chant reaches a fervid pitch, and you notice that there is a growing green light from the center of the city. As that light grows, it starts out as a massive green dome growing over the entire city and filling the inner 2 most circles before erupting into a massive pillar of green flame. The final circle seems to not only contain the pillar, but also dampen any sound coming from within. So essentially what you see happening is Manehattan disappears in a pillar of green flame without a single sound. When it dies down, there is nothing left, and then you guys wake up in your cottage. Our final clip is of Twilight speaking to the party about the collected items of power. Roll clip. Twilight asks, "So which one do you want to see if we can figure out first?"
I take my mask off and levitate it over to her.
She takes a look at it and says, "I really haven't seen much that looks like this. It's a very interesting design."
It's called the Mask of the Flame Singer.
She looks thoughtfully, tapping a hoof to her chin before pulling out a book from one of the stacks and flipping through it, and says, "We don't have terribly much on the Kieran, but what we do have mentions that he was at one point a well-known hero of your people." She flips through some more and says, "The last recorded thing we had from him about him was he went to fight one Kieran war against the dragons."
He died.
Yeah, he's dead. We found his body.
I mean, it would be a miracle if he had survived this long.
Well, Spark seems to think so. I am still wearing that pendant, so if at the mention of his name he wants to come out.
You don't get any actual reaction from the mention of his name.
Well, I rub the pendant, try to do something.
The ethereal Kieran appears, looking rather perturbed at being disturbed.
This, Twilight, is Spark.
She leans forward and with wide, excited eyes and says, "I've never seen anything like this."
Yeah, neither have I, until now. So, what this is, what he is, or this, I don't know. I call him Spark. That's what he told me to call him. He was basically guarding the chest that held the mask and wouldn't let me open it. His master, which the flame singer, was the only one that could open it.
As she leans back again, says, "Unfortunately, we don't have too much on the Kirin. They generally tended to keep to themselves."
I sure hope they're doing all right now.
She shrugs and says that when we started trying to help people evacuate, nobody was able to find their village.
So, Spark, what do you know of this mask? Is there anything that you can portray that would help?
He gives you a look and says you wear it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. We gonna go to the next item?
Let's figure out what my axe does.
She goes to touch the axe, and it almost immediately quadruples in size to a point that she couldn't lift it even if she wanted to, and it also knocks out several shelves. She looks a bit frazzled after that and asks, "Where did you find this?"
Actually,
We found it next to the
with
mask.
Kirin.
Twilight looks at it thoughtfully and opens a different book and says, "There isn't much mention of dragons using weapons, but the one that I can find does happen to be an axe. It says here that it was known as Blood Drinker, and I have nothing on who wielded it."
Hey, Twilight, you like books, right?
Twilight gives you
A fellow book familiar.
a no duh
I-
type look.
I like gesture to the book like, hey, this is a cool book.
So she takes the book and starts flipping through it, and she seems mildly confused at first. And then as she continues to flip, her eyes widen and says, "I've never seen anything like this." As she continues, she looks at you guys, and her eyes go even wider. "I've never even heard of anything like this." And taking the book, she walks to a particular bookshelf, pulls down 2 books, and steps down a stairway that's revealed by the moving bookcase. As you guys follow her down, first thing you realize is this is the restricted area of the library. She starts going through the books and pulls one out. And this book looks like it's old enough to be older than Tenebrous himself. It is an absolutely ancient book. And she starts carefully flipping through the pages and shakes her head and says, "Even the oldest tomes that I have don't mention anything like this."
If it helps, we found it in the deepest depths of the Changeling Hive.
It helps to know the Book of Secrets.
She shakes her head and says, "Well, there have been mentions of a Book of Secrets before. I don't think this is the same thing." And she
Why not?
levitates the book back to you and says, "I would be careful with it," and looks at the rest of you. "Next."
Oh yeah, I have the necklace amulet thing of avarice, the greedy thing.
As you mention that, she looks alarmed and pulls out a scroll and starts reading through it before saying, "I knew I have heard that before," and points to a picture. So you guys, when you take a look at the picture, the first thing you notice is a massive blue ram. And
Wait, by any chance, through my readings of history, would I recognize this ram?
you recognize this as Grogar. And rather than having the usual bell that he is portrayed with, you see a amulet floating in front of him with a magical aura. You know, the fancy old wannabe hieroglyphic type drawing that depicts magical things are happening here.
Got it.
Yes.
That sort of thing.
And Twilight explains that the Amulet of Avarice was actually a prototype for the bell.
Where is the bell?
She gives you a flat look and says, "We're not giving that to any of you."
My thought is that using it against Soul Tenebrous, but that could backfire. But
She says that despite the that might possibly being a decent idea, it is too powerful of an artifact to just have laying around and accessible to people that could steal it.
that is a fair point.
Are you going to give her the next item?
I'll give her the hammer.
So she takes a look at the hammer, and most of the stuff she says you are already aware of, except when she mentions that the hero who I gave a name but have subsequently forgot it has never been seen since the last battle he fought. But he
You mean that half dead guy?
That battle against the Mospies?
He actually was famous for defeating quite a large number of the Aramospi.
We do know where he's at.
Oh yeah, we saw it. We saw bones.
She blinks and says that's not possible. He's a griffin, he should be dead.
Yeah,
He's not exactly alive, but he is living. Undead? Yeah, that's one way to put it. He's undead.
She looks at you guys with this look of open-faced shock and asks, how do you... She just shakes her head and says, we don't have time right now to investigate this, and pushes the hammer back towards Archon. Anything else?
Ballistic's got his cube, unless he doesn't want to look into it.
I do.
She looks at it and says, I've actually heard several stories on this one, although none of them are consistent. The only consistent thing that seems to run through all of the stories is the fact that it was owned by a Pegasus thief, and it could do many different things, although what exactly it could do was never really decided for sure.
Give us a list, because it does a lot.
I mean, how many books do you want to carry around?
I'm just saying, a verbal list.
I mean, honestly, at this point, it's gotten famous enough to supposedly sprout entire cloud cities, to picking locks by itself, growing legs. It's so very...
Dragon.
That one I have not heard.
We've seen this cube create walls of fire, shoot grappling hooks, bestow strength.
I heard a roll, I got really scared. Are you rolling damage against me?
I can't even explain what the last thing it did was. Also has a fire ray that shoots out the front of it.
She shrugs and says that other than the multi-tool, occasionally it is also called the puzzle cube. So that might have something to do with it.
Sure puzzles us.
It's the Millennium Puzzle.
What the heck is the multi-tool?
Nice.
Please ignore Quillian.
He calls it the multi-knife, but it's the multi-tool.
Yes.
Wait, we should also possibly ask, hey, we've been randomly been feeling pain sometimes after using our magical items. Do you think you know what's going on with this?
She looks slightly concerned and says, let me try something. And cast a spell. After he's done, she says, as far as I can tell, other than the side effects of the Amulet of Avarice, we're going to pretend that you have it with you to make this easier.
Yeah.
Other than the side effects of the Amulet of Avarice, when used during casting, there should be nothing causing actual harm to you. Not direct, she quickly corrects. But she basically gives you the there's no reason it should be hurting you unless directed at you or you're standing too close to the user of the Amulet of Avarice.
Which again does not help us at all. Yeah, hooray.
So, you guys have had your items inspected. What do?
We've learned.
Maybe we should head to Cancer a lot since we recollected with them.
Personally, I'm gonna suggest maybe we go and visit Manehattan on our own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Volunteer ourselves
Is there-
instead of sending other
Shop
guards.
for shop for a.
Oh, we should also tell her that Applejack's alive.
Yes,
So is Fluttershy.
yes. I was
Yeah,
going
and
to
we're
tell her that
also
we
gonna
encountered
try and.
and then we didn't.
Well, we should also like tell them that we're gonna try and keep her friends alive and save them if possible,
Yes.
because that would be a good thing to do.
She
That's the
looks
plan,
relieved
anyway.
as you tell her this.
Yes.
Because they're good
Unfortunately-
horses and should be kept safe.
Unfortunately,
Even
when
if
we
they try to
encountered-
kill us.
No, we are still gonna try and help.
Exactly, even if they try to kill us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which they already have.
And that's all we have time for today. I would like to say a big thank you to Frozen Nights for the intro, outro, and background music. Also, a special thanks to my priest tier Patreons, Sawtooth Waves, Ellis Sander, Gilded Page, Haxrose, and Cameo Shadowness. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to stay up to date on all of our streams and uploads. Everyone have a great day and drink water.